Hello and welcome to the SUTV show. In today's episode, we're going to look back at the 5-0 defeat against Arsenal. We're also going to catch up with defender George Baldock as he made his return at the weekend. We'll hear from Blaze boss Paul Heckingbottom. And of course, we'll look ahead to this weekend's game back at the Lane against Wolverhampton. All in the company of our chief pundit and ex-Blade, Carl Asaba.
Thank you. Being promoted to chief.
You have indeed. You are our chief. Carl, let's talk about the weekend then. You were there. Can you just give us that atmosphere first?
It was always going to be a tough match. We changed the formation, and that went well. You know, I thought the two centre halves did well. Trusty and Robbo looked solid, and you're playing away at one of the best teams in the country, in Europe, and we were playing very defensive, but we were doing it well. And it was just a shame that the goal came from something that I thought could have been cut out. It wasn't the best bit of play that Arsenal did, and it was just unfortunate that he fell to Nketiah, and he's in the box, he's going to finish well, and he did. So it was very frustrating, but it was Arsenal. The boys acquitted themselves well. There was definitely more desire, there was more hunger, but it's still just though the boys fell short, but most teams will at the Emirates.
And before we do, it's kind of a bit of a rolling pattern that you're on this season. We're talking about the Blades. We have the good, the bad, and then the ugly kind of end the matches. But why do you think we are like we are at the start of the game, and it is so positive, and we look great, and big teams are look under pressure to us? Man United as well. They all looked under pressure. Why do you think it goes wrong after them first goals?
Well, obviously your confidence falls, and no one wants to lose, and no one wants to make mistakes. So it's hard to be brave when you're losing. People go in their shells, and you need the big characters. You need the Baldocks, the Bashes, the Egans, the McBurneys on the pitch, because they can weather the storm. A lot of our problem has been due to the numbers that we've got, our injury crisis. Against Man United, as you said, we were the better team. But then they're bringing on Eriksen, they're bringing on this person, that person, and no disrespect, but we're not. We're bringing on players who have been bought to develop. We saw the young lads, Ryan come on. And he's making his debut at 17 away at Arsenal. Now, it's brilliant, but Hecky and his coaches would rather be bringing on one of the more senior players who are fit. It's just the injury crisis we're on. We're unable to affect things where other teams are getting to 60 minutes. They're bringing on fresh, international, proven Premiership legs. And that's a lot of it. But as you say, the heads do go down, though they have twice, really, against teams when they scored. Other matches, we've stuck in it. We've been beaten by the odd goal quite a few times. So it's not that the boys capitulate and they give up. It's just we're out of numbers. We need the injuries back, and then we can compete. At the moment, we're trying to compete with a threadbare squad that, not all the players are of the same ilk.
And do you think it won't help as well, also having them main players out, those, them players that have the experience, especially in the Premier League as well, but also happening in training, having younger people, younger members come into the squad? Do you think that's going to have an effect on the senior members in the team, trying to practice towards these big games?
But definitely, and that was one of the things I was saying at the start of the season. You're only able to practice against what you're training against, but you're making the step in quality up on the match day. So it's all right, we're defending brilliantly in training, but you're training against top youth players, and you're not training against the top Premiership players that you're meeting on a Saturday. Off air we were speaking to George, and George said one of the things he's benefited from internationally is the standard of player around him is top level. So some of the times when we're during our injury crisis here, he's not playing against the very top of the squad, and it's just been like a perfect storm. We've gone up a division. We've had new players come in who need to learn the way, and then the established senior players who we can count, they've got injured. So it's been a complete perfect storm against us. And that's why we are where we are. And it's not that people aren't trying or there's not real quality in the squad. We have got quality in the squad, but it's in the treatment room invariably, and it's not been able to practice.
And I know you just touched on it there, but we have still got that same squad that we had in the Championship. And we haven't really developed that squad either, coming back up into the Prem. And Michael Arteta, after the game, he said as well that he believes the gap between the Championship and the Premier League in English football is the biggest gap in Premier League, in football, in the football world.
Yeah, every year it's getting bigger. 10 years ago, going from the Championship to the Premiership was a step, but it isn't as vast as it is now. Years back when the Wilder team went up, that was an incredible team that did wonders, but the gulf isn't the same. I was with a former manager yesterday, and a Premiership manager, and he's saying, you've got to remember, you're playing against Crystal Palace. They've been there 10 years now, so they've had 10 sets of the money. You're talking almost £1 billion. Now, how do you compete? You've got to either be very lucky, have an incredibly good, talented, young and up-and-coming team like the Wilder team that can take it on, or you've got to be sensible and just think, well, what can we do? We saw Nottingham Forest throw a fortune at it, and they were able to stay and bridge and get up.
Yeah.
But if that didn't work, you're then looking at financial fair play. You're looking at this, that, and the other. So it's whether you take a gamble like we did before, and we had to send Ramsdale and we had to sell this person to fund the next 2 years in the Championship, or you take the small steps that we are doing, which it's no bad thing. It's hard to swallow because invariably it's tough each week, but the long-term security of the club hasn't been put in jeopardy. That if you go back down, we're going to pay for this person, how are we going to pay for that person? It's really hard to swallow the losses that we're going through, but you can see where it's come from. It's just everything's been exacerbated because you've got so many injuries. If our first team was fit and able to play, we can compete. We've seen we can compete. It's just we're suffering from this terrible injury crisis.
No, absolutely. And one of them injuries who we did see make a return on the weekend was George Baldock, and we'll hear from him now. Well, George, thank you for joining us here on SUTV, and it was great to see you return back at the weekend. Probably not how you wanted to return, coming back on that pitch, already 3 goals down, but how was it for you just to get back out there and be back with the team?
Yeah, it was really important for me. Obviously, like anyone who knows me knows that I'm not the best watcher on. I get more nervous watching than I do playing, and obviously it's been hard seeing the boys. Last few weeks, take some bad results. So it's really good to get back out there, and hopefully I can help.
And how's that been in training as well with you and getting back out of that injury process?
It's been good. I've been working with Lee McMahon and the physio department. Everything so far has gone to plan. Obviously a lot more work to do just to make sure that there's no reoccurrences and things like that, but I'm feeling good, trained now for a week and a half, and look forward to hopefully being involved on the weekend.
How's your role in the dressing room? Because obviously we've lost some key players in the season, big characters. For me, looking on, you're one of the biggest characters on the pitch. Have you having to get in the dressing room? I know you're injured, but trying to G the boys on. How's your role in the dressing room now?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've had to kind of step up a little bit in terms of, being one of the main voices. Obviously, I've been here now 7 years, and, there's been some huge characters in the group, and I've just kind of had to step up this year. A lot of it is, motivating and going again, but there's also, having those harsh conversations, we've spoken about that, need to be said now. We need to be better. We've got a duty of care to at least win our duels, win our races, and anything that goes in, no matter how well you're playing, those kind of fundamentals have to be there. And I think we've come away from that a little bit as a group collectively. And it's just having those conversations that.
So you've been able to, because you have to put it in the right way. No one likes screaming in front, but you're able to remind people what's expected and the necessity, being a Sheffield United player, to fight and scratch and kick for every single bit. Are you getting over the Sheffield United way to some of the new lads?
Yeah, that's kind of been what this week's been about. We had to have a hard look at each other. Like I said, collectively, there's no individuals here. There hasn't been the whole time I'm here, and I think that is also kind of within the ethos of this club. There's no individuals because you'll get found out quickly and get moved on. So there's been a few of us, been a few main voices in the dressing room. And we just had to emphasise, that, by demanding more, that, nothing's personal.
Yeah.
Nothing's personal. Like I said, we've got a duty of care to the club, to the fans, to win these duels and be competitive. When we're at our best, win, lose or draw, players will know they've been in for a game. World-class players have come to Bramwell Lane and even, their homes and thought, wow, we had to work hard for that result. Yeah. And in recent weeks, they haven't. So we need to get back to that.
But you must be itching because you're such a big part of the club's success. I always think back to the picture of you when we got promoted and you're in the dugout and you were sort of lapping it all in and taking it in because it was a tough season. To not be able to dig in with the boys must have hurt you this season with the injury. You must be raring to get involved now. Yeah,
massively. I honestly, I can't wait. The game can't come quick enough. Hopefully, I'm involved, and I just want to. I just want to start winning. That's what there's the main. This club's not been used to losing too much. Obviously, we had that year in the Premier League, which was disappointing. But I think mostly it's down to not having our fantastic support. So I'm just itching to get back. Hopefully, a few other big characters come back as well, and we can start progressing.
And touching on those big characters that we are missing at the minute, in training, how we're seeing some of them younger boys having to step up. How has that been in training for you, one of the more experienced players in the team, taking on those younger players?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a challenge for me because, although we want these young lads developing and getting every opportunity that they deserve, we also want to win. So it just goes back to the point, there's that fine line between not being too harsh, but then at the same time just trying to drive those standards. And to be fair to the management, they're exactly the same. It's not just me stood here or Jack Robinson or Ollie McBurney, Bashy, whoever it is. We've all kind of had to do that, and whether that's us changing our kind of ways in training, and maybe we were being a little bit too easy on them or whatever. But it's not just them, it's some of them young players have played and put in great performances, and some of us older players, haven't kind of met the standards we're used to setting. So, like I said, it's complete collective. There's no finger pointing. We're in this position because of every single one of us, players that is, and it's just up to us now to kind of go now and just push and fight and try and get back up the league.
How are you finding being a father, being a footballing father? I found it really hard. I found it very draining. And how are you adjusting? Are you getting the sleep? Are you able to delegate the parenting?
Yeah, I'm really fortunate. My missus has been fantastic. She knows kind of, she's been long enough with me now to know that, it is, one, stressful sometimes. Being a footballer, sorry to say, is also stressful to being a mother. But also, we do need our sleep at times, especially after games or a hard training session. So she's been brilliant. We kind of, her family as well, her mother's been fantastic. And, I chip in on I will help out, during the day. I'll rush home. No more coffee stops anymore. I think Wes and Loie keep asking me every day, and I say not a chance at the minute. So I'll rush home from training, help out, and then on my days off and things as well, I'll do night shifts. And so it's been really good. It's about partnerships, and we've been doing really well.
How have you found the international, the call up and selection? Has it in what way has it improved you as a player? Because you seem to be growing. When we saw you towards the end of last season, the confidence was through the roof. I know you're a well-established Premiership player and a Blades legend, but you still seem to be, growing and even more dependable.
Yeah, I mean, I think just confidence-wise, I've had to play, different style of football, different formation, under, a totally kind of different kind of environment, obviously the language barrier and things like that. So I've had to kind of step up that way, and I've been fortunate enough to be part of a good international team. We've had some good results recently, so you bring the confidence from that as well, playing against good players. We played against John Egan's Ireland in the summer, which was good.
There's a lot of banter before.
Yeah, fortunately we got the bragging rights in the end, but it was great to come up against John, obviously a great friend of mine and fantastic player. And in terms of bringing that back here, it's just, everyone knows how much I love playing for the club, and I've been here for so long now. It seems like yesterday when I signed, but it's been quite a few seasons, and like I said, the majority of them have been successful. So not used to the situation we're in at the minute too much, and just want to put it right.
Yeah.
And we touched on family there just before that question. How did you come around finding out about your Greek connections? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, obviously I always knew that my father was half Greek. My grandmother was obviously fully Greek. She moved over to England with my granddad in the war. But it was a really complex situation because in the first year in the Premier League, I got earmarked to go and play for them. And it was all kind of going well, and then Brexit hit, COVID hit, and everything just kind of slowed down and even almost just stopped really. So it was like documents were taking 5 times as long to come over and get sent back, and then the kind of language barrier between parties meant that some of the stamps weren't right, and all these kind of things. It just took forever, it seemed, but I'm just really happy to get it over the line, and like I said, it was one of the best things I did.
What's it like on the build up to an international break? How much notice do you know that you've been called into the squad?
Yeah, so a couple of weeks before, I'll get a pre-selection kind of message just to say you've been selected, and I've been in regular contact with the manager anyway. He's been keen to know how I'm getting on with my injury and things like that. I was disappointed to miss out on the last 2 qualifying games because it means now our route to Germany will be hopefully through a playoff.
When that comes, do you send out a group text to the family? I'm back in the squad. What's that like?
I don't know why, but they seem to kind of just almost, they just think I'm going to be in.
Wow.
So I do still give my dad a ring and just say, yeah, I'll be going. But at the minute, my full focus has been on getting fit and getting back for Sheffield United. If I can stay fit, which hopefully I can now, and putting some good performance in, then the rest will take care of itself.
Have you changed anything? Have you worked on other parts of the body while you've been out injured? What have you done while you're out?
Well, to be honest with you, it was my own fault because I felt a little something against Crystal Palace in the 85th minute. I played on. Obviously had that week. I had a scan. There was something there. Took a week off because of Nottingham Forest game.
You really did. I remember. It was a proper muscle thing, and the way that you carried on, I couldn't believe you were able to stay out there. So do you think that probably put you back a little bit by staying on a bit from being courageous George?
Potentially, but I think the biggest thing was I took a week out. The week out, I missed the Nottingham Forest game because of the scan results, and to be honest with you, it was my fault. I shouldn't have really played so soon after that. Okay. But the lack of numbers and the way we'd started the season, I thought I'll be all right. And the Man City game I shouldn't really have played, and Everton game I definitely shouldn't have played. So then I went away with Greece and I didn't even train. Okay. I was just kind of thinking, is this tightness going to go? Is it going to go? Never did. Ended up getting a scan before the Holland game, and just came straight back home. So looking back, the physios made me aware of the risks, but I probably, looking back, should have taken it. But you'll know, calves are weird, aren't they? Like you'll feel fine, and really they're not. So, yeah. But
you and Ollie Mack just seem to want to play for anything for this club. You really love this club, don't you? It's not a case of you're not getting wages because you're not playing for the wages because you're going to get paid if you're injured or not. But you just want to be out on that pitch helping.
No, of course. And match days, especially at Bramall Lane, you go there and you watch, and I'm as nervous as everyone on the cop. I hate it. I hate watching on. You feel helpless, don't you? You'll be able to say that, and it's just a case of just wanting to get back and help. Whether that's coming on, whatever the manager decides, it's just being back out there, being around the place. And like I said, it's a lot of people. You see, we'll hopefully get Anel back soon, Ollie Mack back soon. We'll have the returning of Bashi and Eags, even if they're back in the building soon. It'll be massive. And yeah, this kind of club and the success we've had has always been built off a good changing room, and you need those big characters. So I feel for Hecky a little bit because some of them aren't even in the building at the minute due to obviously nursing serious injuries.
Well, George, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for joining us here on SUTV. But now we're going to hear from another player who's been getting back from injury recently. That's Ben Osborne.
Let's start with the last result. Arsenal, huge disappointment, obviously, and a sobering afternoon. How do you reflect on it?
Yeah, hugely disappointing. Sort of the game plan went out the window as soon as they scored, which was try and stay in the game and have a similar kind of performance that we did against Man United. I think Arsenal, we contained them for about 25 minutes, and then I think they changed a few things and we just couldn't live with them, and we offered nothing going forward. So it was really disappointing, and yeah, we've had to debrief it after and look at ourselves after.
You've played City, you've played Tottenham, you now played Arsenal. Are we looking at potential champions in Arsenal?
They were really good, there's no doubt about that, and the way they changed within the game, what they were doing, and found our weak points was really tough to play against, and they controlled it. So potentially, yeah, but I think it's going to be a really good title race this year. There's a few teams that are looking really good.
Assess the start of the season for us. It's been a tough ride, hasn't it? 10 games in.
Yeah. I think there was chances for us to get points at the start of the season, which we're going into without a fully formed squad, so that wasn't ideal. We have had a tough run of fixtures, but then again, all the fixtures in the Premier League are tough. Obviously, we've had our injury problems, but we've been leaking far too many goals, a couple of horrendous results and bad performances, but then there's been games where we've been really in it and we conceded late on. And we are aware of there's some big fixtures coming up with teams in and around us where we really need to perform and get some points now, even though we have got a lot of things going against us at the moment. But I think November, December are big months for us, and we're certainly not giving up.
Is what you're looking for a catalyst, a bit like last season where you got that fight back, that draw against Norwich, and the season turned on that, didn't it?
Yeah, I think a win will change everything. Will change the mood around around the place, and obviously it's been a while since we had one, but we know that results change the mood massively within the city, within the fans. So yeah, if we can just get that along with a good performance, then I think it hopefully could kickstart something.
How important to get some players back, because you've had a horrendous luck really with injuries?
Yeah, it's been I've never seen anything like it, to be fair. But there seems to be a little conveyor belt of players coming back now, so slowly but surely. But again, it's one of them, like we need them back, but then we need to sort of build them up to get minutes. Similar position to myself, where I've been out for a while, but like the squad's that thin, they kind of need you back, but then it's a bit of a risk to throw you in so early in case of a re-injury. So it's a fine line to balance.
Ben Osborne speaking to us there. Well, Carl, let's move on to the game this weekend. Wolverhampton at home. They are on good form. They're in that middle of the table, and they've been playing really well. They've got strong players up front.
It's Halloween. She's scaring me with balls here. Come on.
Thoughts coming to the game?
Of course, they're an established Premiership team. They've got some really exciting players. I've seen them play quite a bit this season, and they're very open. They're happy to slug it out with anyone. They'll attack you and they'll let you attack them. It's going to be another huge test, but it's more about what team we can field. Again, I think we'd be a flat back four, but we'll see. The atmosphere is going to be key. This is one of the first matches where you look on paper and think, okay, you're in with a fighting chance at home anyway, because the games before, Crystal Palace and Everton, we hadn't really our full squad and the boys hadn't been together. So, we had the Fulham game where you'd hope to try and get something. This is the next game, but you're talking about a Wolves team that's been in the Premiership 5 or 6 years. They've got the benefit of £500 million worth of funding and establishing themselves. Obviously, we're going to be coming against one of my favourite players, Tommy Doyle. So we got to score 4 because he'll get a hat trick. So it's a really tough ask, but in the Premiership, we've got to try and get something from these games. It's another game where you've got to play it as a cup final. Everyone's got to give their all. What was another really good thing, speaking to George off camera, was the boys have not got to see, even the young lads who are coming through, that, okay, this is good for my CV, I'm getting a game in the Premiership. No, every time you cross that field of play, you're being judged. So even though you're maybe 18 or you're 19, and if you're on that pitch, you're being judged now. So they're not able to say, oh, well, he's not performing, because if you're not performing, you're not performing. So it's a big game for everyone involved. It's a huge occasion for Sheffield United. The fans will turn up and they'll sing their hearts out because we owe Wolves. Wolves, I still have nightmares of Wolves at Cardiff. So, it's a big match. They got their Premiership status against us, and they've done ever so well. And we've got to turn up on the day and outfight them. The first thing is we've got to outfight them and make them win whatever they get. Don't just roll over and let them walk away with the points because they're good enough to do so.
No, absolutely. And I know you touched on it there with the back four. It needs to be a strong back four because they have Hwang Hee-chan. And as you know, I mean, you don't know if you do know, but he joined 6th top of scorer in the Premier League at the minute with 6 goals and 1 assist. How do we defend against a player who is on fire?
Well, that's if you saw some of his footage at the weekend, the way he chopped back, he's not doing the predictable. And this, again, harks back to what George was saying, that we're not training against that level of player. We're training against young youth team players who are coming through. So it is hard to get to that level because you're coming against them once a week on a match day. So it's hard to prepare, but they'll be well aware he's banging form, he's an exceptional talent. But we've been talking about Neto missing. That's one player missing. They've got another 11 outstanding players that are going to be on the pitch that are going to be trying to get the points. I just hope we go with the right attitude, the same attitude that we turned up with against Man United, and really put on a good case for ourselves.
And I know we just touched on it there. Neto is out for them, and he is top assists in the Premier League at the minute on 7. But how does it sound for us to be thinking, oh, thank God one of their key players is out? It just can't feel right to the fans to have that, oh, he's out, we might have a chance.
Well, no, I don't, but it's more like, well, he's out, we've got 10 out, so at least they've got something out. Of course, it's not a good mindset to be thinking about things that can go wrong for the opposition for your own benefit, but right now we'll take whatever we can. If a pigeon flies and hits the keeper in the head and he can't save it, I'll take that now. I'll sign him up. He could probably get in the squad. But no, we've just got to do what we can. And Hecky and the coaching staff are working their socks off. And hopefully things will turn and it will be starting on Saturday.
And we'll just touch on, one key person for us, who is Robbo. How do we now need to worry about him maybe because he's been doing these full 90-minute matches? Do you think it might be seen that he might end up with a little niggle here and there because he is having to take on these 4 games?
Well, it's just turned into the Grim Reaper here. You don't talk about it when we're going through this sort of crisis. Well, it's hard for the management because the boys have to train. To be at your peak performance, you've got to train really hard and give it everything. We've got bare bones, so the training day to day, it must be like trying to keep the boys in cotton wool, but trying to get them up to speed. Because if you're not training hard in the matches, you will get soft tissue injuries in the games because you're working at 100%. So it's a really tough situation, but this is the industry. It's not easy, or everyone would be doing it. And Robbo, as you say, has been wonderful. He is a stalwart and someone who we depend on. Baldock coming back is going to be a huge plus for the boys because of the character. In the Premier League, there's so much ability against you. You need mindsets. Robbo's got the right mindset. Baldock's got the right mindset. They're standout individuals. And I hope, if Baldock is fit enough to start and is selected, it will be a big plus for it. And, the fans seeing Baldock start is a huge, but they adore him. He encapsulates everything that a Sheffield United fan wants to see. So he'll be a massive, massive plus for us.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear from the Blaze manager, Paul Heckingbottom now.
Can we start with injuries? We know you've got this long injury list. So have you got anything positive that you can share to give you a lift ahead of the weekend?
I think the big ones are obviously the 1 or 2 who've come back in the last couple of weeks. So George has had a few more days training. Obviously Ozzy. Will, Asula and Lowy aren't ready, but they're not far away, which is good. And then the other boys are more long-term, as hopefully Anel and Ollie Mack will be back soon enough, but not for this weekend.
It's been a tough start in terms of fixtures. I think you played 6 of the top 9 sides. You played the top 3, but the next 4 games look a little kinder on paper. So how crucial is this phase of the season for you, your future, and for survival hopes for the team?
Yeah, I think you've got to approach every game to try and take the points. We know some are more difficult than others. I thought Saturday proved that. We've been in and amongst it against other teams at the top and took teams right to very wire and not got the points which some performances maybe deserved. But Saturday there was definitely a gulf. Some games we know are going to be like that. We're playing a good team at the weekend who are in good form. But yeah, as you say, we've got the next few games, more teams in the bottom half. But really, I don't think at this level it makes too much difference. Listen, Arsenal away is a top fixture, really tough. We get that, and there's not many harder. Yeah, so in that respect, it's a little bit easier. However, if we're not at it, if we're not performing to our best, we know it's going to be a difficult day. However, if we are performing to our best, as we've shown in numerous games already, there's no reason why we can't take points.
This team was used to winning most weeks last season. So how do you deal with it when this season you're on a long sequence without a win, and how does it affect the mentality?
Yeah, it does affect it, but not this team. This club, we were used to winning, but don't think we've had a lot of changes, and that's been one of the problems. But to get over that, to get the confidence, to get the belief, I think one or two of those victories, one or two of those games, if they had have come the victories, whether it was Spurs, whether Everton, whether City, whichever one of those games, and you're picking up points, that's what gives the belief. At the minute, we could talk about how close we've been in all those games, but that confidence will only come when we get over the line. That's it.
Do you think you are close to when you've talked about in the past how you've been close, but it's fine margins? Do you feel as though you can get?
Yeah, listen, it's fine margins, and we have to make sure we're in the game. I look back if the Arsenal game, they were better than us. I look back to the United game where I thought we were playing really well first half, but fall behind, and we do really well then to get back in front. And then we were disappointed, obviously, with the nature of how we conceded. But apart from that, I think their best moments came from 25 yards, and one of them happened to go in. So they are the margins, but we're playing against players who can score from 25 yards, So, yeah, there's evidence there in all the games but the belief has to be there, the performance has to be there, the energy has to be there to get us over the line and get us in those positions where we can scrap and fight to get over the line. That's it. And then 3 points, whatever it is, changes the outlook of the season. But it won't change our approach, because no matter what, we win the next two games, nothing's really changed in terms of what our ambitions are and what our aims are. We have to try and get as many points as possible, simple as.
How much of a psychological boost would it be then if you got at least a point this weekend, just to kind of end the current losing run? Yeah,
definitely. That's what we need. That's what we're striving for. And like I said, we've been close so many times and not got over the line and given everyone that little lift. I'd love it to be 3, not 1. But I also know how good a team Wolves are and how Gary's got them going now, and they've had a consistent way of playing now in these last 5 games with the shape they've played and the performance levels. So yeah, we know what type of team are going to be coming to Bramall Lane this weekend, and we know it's going to be tough.
Manager Paul Heckingbottom there. So Carl, any final thoughts going into this match against Wolves?
Please let her get some points. That's all. I don't care if it's pretty, ugly. Just want us to get some points and get some belief in the lads and just start looking up. And we know we deserve better than we've had so far this season, points-wise. I hope the boys really put in a fighting performance and get something from it.
And as you know as well, our Blaze fans have been home and away, and they've given that support. How much would they love to get this win on Saturday?
Oh, they love a win. They love anything, but even our fans are so passionate. They just want a fighting display. I look at the forums and the Twitter, and it's not that we're losing. They just want us to fight a little bit more. And the likes of Baldock coming back in, he will give that fighting spirit. And the other players, the new players who maybe are not as aware of what the club's about, it will get through to them. And if we can't get the points, it's the manner that we would lose. I hope we get the points, and I hope we put on a display, because we need it. We deserve more, and we deserve better. And I just want something to cheer.
Yeah, so do I. Well, that's all for this episode, but please do join us next week when we'll be looking ahead to our away game at Brighton at the MX Stadium.